I'll never forget the sound of his voice that day. Cold. Cruel. Confident. You'll never succeed without me. 5 words that changed everything. If you're enjoying this so far, don't forget to like the video and watch till the end. I'd love to hear your thoughts. I stood there in his office, my resignation letter trembling in my hand. The paper felt heavier than it should have. Or maybe it was just my heart. Emma, he said, leaning back in his leather chair like he owned the world. Maybe he thought he did. You're making the biggest mistake of your life. His name was Richard Sterling. CEO. Mentor. The man I'd worked under for 7 years. The man who taught me everything about the tech industry. The man who I thought believed in me. I was wrong. I've made up my mind, I said. My voice was steady, but my hands weren't. He laughed. Not a kind laugh. The kind that cuts. You think you can build something on your own? You. He stood up, walked around his desk. His shadow fell over me. I gave you everything. Every opportunity. Every skill you have, you learned from me. And this is how you repay me. I swallowed hard. I appreciate everything you've done, but I need to try. Try. He moved closer. Too close. Listen to me very carefully. You leave this company, and you'll fail. Within 6 months, you'll come crawling back, begging for your old job. And you know what? I won't take you back. The air conditioning hummed. Outside his window, the city sprawled beneath us. 23 floors up. I'd worked in this building since I was 25. Now I was 32. 7 years of 60-hour weeks. 7 years of sacrificed weekends. 7 years of watching him take credit for my ideas. I have to go, I whispered. Then go, he said, turning his back to me. But remember this moment, Emma. When you're broke and desperate, remember that I warned you. You're nothing without me. I left that office with a cardboard box. Inside, a coffee mug, a framed photo of my mom, and a small succulent plant that had somehow survived on my desk. That was it. 7 years reduced to objects that fit in a box. The elevator ride down felt like falling. 23 floors. 23 floors to process what I'd just done. 23 floors to wonder if he was right. The lobby doors opened to a world I wasn't sure I belonged in anymore. My apartment was small. Studio. 500 square feet of everything I owned. That night, I sat on my bed, which was also my couch, which was also my dining area, and I opened my laptop. Bank account, $8,342. That's what I had. $8,000 and an idea. The idea had come to me 6 months earlier. I was in a meeting with Richard and a potential client. The client was frustrated. His company needed a software solution that could integrate their entire supply chain, something seamless and intuitive. Everything on the market was too complicated or too expensive. I saw the solution clearly. I sketched it out that night. Showed it to Richard the next morning. Interesting, he said, barely looking up. File it away. We don't have resources for new projects. But I knew it was more than interesting. I knew it was revolutionary. So I worked on it. Secretly. Nights and weekends. In coffee shops and my tiny apartment. Writing code until my eyes burned. Testing. Failing. Testing again. 6 months later, I had a prototype. That's when I resigned. Now, sitting in my apartment with $8,000 and a dream, I wondered if I'd lost my mind. My phone buzzed. Text from my best friend, Sarah. Did you do it? I did. And? He said I'd fail. 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. Then prove him wrong. Easier said than done. The first month was chaos. Beautiful, terrifying chaos. I registered my company. Called it Nexus Solutions. Spent $2,000 on incorporation fees, a basic website, and business cards that felt too fancy for someone working from a studio apartment. I reached out to everyone I knew. Old colleagues. Former clients. People I'd met at conferences. The response was lukewarm at best. Call me when you have something solid, they said. Love the concept, but we need proven solutions. Maybe in a year or two. My savings dwindled. $6,000. $5,000. 4. I started skipping meals. Instant ramen became gourmet. I cancelled my gym membership. Walked everywhere instead of taking the subway. Wore the same 3 outfits on rotation. But I kept coding. 3 a.m. became my most productive hour. The world was quiet then. Just me, my laptop, and lines of code that slowly became something real. Month 2. I landed my first client. Small marketing firm. 20 employees. They needed exactly what I'd built. The meeting was in their cramped conference room. Folding chairs. Flickering fluorescent lights. The CEO was a woman named Patricia, sharp eyes behind red glasses. "Show me what you've got," she said. I showed her. My hands shook as I navigated through the demo. Every click felt like a gamble. She watched in silence. When I finished, she leaned back. "How much?" $20,000 for implementation and first-year support. She didn't blink. 15. 17. Deal. I walked out of that building and cried on the sidewalk. Happy tears. Desperate tears. Relief tears. $17,000. I could breathe again. But breathing room doesn't last long when you're building an empire from nothing. Patricia's company loved the software. 2 months later, she referred me to 3 other businesses. I landed 2 of them. Word started spreading. By month 6, I had 12 clients. I was making money. Not a lot, but enough to move to a 1-bedroom apartment. Enough to buy real groceries. Enough to prove I hadn't completely lost my mind. But I was exhausted. Running everything alone. Sales. Development. Customer support. Accounting. I was wearing every hat and none of them fit quite right. I needed help. That's when I met David. He showed up to a networking event I almost skipped. I was tired. My social battery was dead. But something made me go. David was a developer. Brilliant one. He'd worked at 3 major tech companies and was looking for something different. Something meaningful. "I'm tired of building products I don't believe in," he said over cheap wine and cheaper cheese cubes. "I want to build something that matters." I told him about Nexus. About the vision. About working from a studio apartment and eating ramen for months. "I'm in," he said. "I can't pay you much." "I don't care." He became my first employee. My co-founder. My friend. With David handling development, I could focus on growth. We worked like machines. 12, 14, 16-hour days. But it didn't feel like work. It felt like building something important. Year 1 revenue, $230,000. It was real. We were real. Year 2 changed everything. We landed a major client. Fortune 500 company. They'd heard about us through the grapevine. Wanted to pilot our software in 1 division. The contract was worth $400,000. I remember signing it. David and I sat in our tiny office, barely big enough for 2 desks, and we just stared at each other. "We did it," he said. "We're doing it," I corrected. The pilot was successful. 6 months later, they rolled it out company-wide. $2 million contract. We hired our first real team. 8 people. Rented an actual office. Not fancy, but ours. I started seeing my face in industry publications. 35 under 35. Women in tech to watch. Rising stars in enterprise software. It felt surreal. But I never forgot Richard's voice. "You'll never succeed without me." Year 3. Revenue hit 12 million. Year 4. 45 million. We moved to a bigger office. Downtown. Glass walls and modern furniture. The kind of place I used to dream about. I was 37 now. 5 years since I'd walked out of Richard's office with nothing but a cardboard box and determination. 5 years of proving him wrong. But I never reached out. Never gloated. Never even thought about him much, honestly. I was too busy building. Until the day I saw him. I was at a tech conference. Keynote speaker. Me. Emma. The girl who was told she'd fail. I was backstage, going over my notes, when someone mentioned Sterling Enterprises. My head snapped up. What about them? Oh, you didn't hear? They're struggling. Richard Sterling stepped down as CEO last month. Company's been hemorrhaging clients. Rumor is they're looking to be acquired. My heart stopped. Then started again, faster. I found out more over the next few weeks. Sterling Enterprises had failed to innovate. While we were building the future, they were still selling the past. Clients left. Talent left. Richard left. The company was dying. And I felt nothing. No satisfaction. No revenge. Just emptiness where anger used to live. But then my phone rang. Emma, it's Patricia. Patricia. My first client. Now a consultant who worked with struggling companies. I have a situation, she said. Sterling Enterprises needs help. They need new leadership, new direction, new technology. I immediately thought of you. You want me to acquire them? I want you to save them. And yes, that probably means acquiring them. I sat with that for a long time. By the company that broke me. By the company that told me I'd fail. It felt too perfect. Too scripted. Too much like a movie. But business is business. I looked at the numbers. Despite their troubles, Sterling still had valuable assets. Client relationships. Patents. Infrastructure. And our technology could transform them completely. The acquisition made sense. So I made the offer. 3 months later, Sterling Enterprises became part of Nexus Solutions. The day we finalized the deal, I walked through their offices. My old offices. Everything looked smaller than I remembered. The carpet was worn. The walls needed paint. Even Richard's corner office felt cramped and sad. I stood in that office. The same office where he told me I'd never make it. I touched his desk. Felt the wood under my fingers. And I let it go. All of it. The anger. The need to prove something. The ghost of his voice in my head. I let it all go. We restructured Sterling completely. Kept most of the employees. Implemented our technology. Rebranded. Within a year, that division was profitable again. I was 39 now. 8 years since I'd left. Nexus Solutions was valued at $1.2 billion. 1,200 employees. Offices in 6 cities. Industry leader in enterprise software solutions. I'd built an empire. And I'd almost forgotten about Richard Sterling entirely. Until he walked into my office. My assistant buzzed me. Emma, you have someone here without an appointment. Says his name is Richard Sterling. Should I send him away? My coffee cup stopped halfway to my mouth. 8 years. 8 years since I'd seen him. 8 years since you'll never succeed without me. Send him in, I said. The door opened. He looked older. Grey hair. Lines around his eyes. His suit was nice but not expensive. Not anymore. He stood in the doorway like he wasn't sure he was allowed to enter. Emma, he said. Richard. Silence. He looked around my office. Floor-to-ceiling windows. Minimalist design. The city sprawled below us. 42 floors up. Higher than he ever was. Nice place, he said quietly. Thank you. More silence. I'm here about a job, he finally said. The words hung in the air. I should have felt triumphant. Vindicated. Satisfied. But looking at this man, this broken version of the person who once seemed invincible, I just felt tired. Sit down, I said. He sat across from my desk. The same position I'd been in 8 years ago, holding my resignation letter. Why should I hire you? I asked. He looked at his hands. I don't know if you should, he said. I'm 58 years old. My company failed. My reputation is shot. I spent the last 3 years watching everything I built fall apart. And I was wrong. He looked up. Met my eyes. I was wrong about you. Wrong about innovation. Wrong about leadership. I held on too tight to old ways and it destroyed me. I waited. You did something incredible, Emma. You took an idea and built something that changed the industry. Something I was too blind to see. Too arrogant to support. He paused. I don't expect you to hire me. I probably don't deserve the chance. But I'm asking anyway. I still know this industry. I still have contacts and experience. And I'm willing to work under someone who actually knows what they're doing. The honesty surprised me. 8 years ago, Richard Sterling was all ego. All pride. The idea of him admitting failure, admitting I was right, would have been impossible. But time humbles everyone eventually. What position are you looking for? I asked. Anything, he said. Senior consultant. Business development. Whatever you need. I'm not here for a title or a corner office. I'm here because I need to work, and you're the best in the business. I leaned back in my chair. Outside, the sun was setting. Golden light poured through the windows. I'll tell you what I told myself every day for 8 years, I said. Success isn't about proving other people wrong. It's about proving yourself right. He nodded slowly. You were my mentor once, I continued. You taught me a lot. Not just about technology or business, but about what kind of leader I didn't want to be. I understand. I built this company on respect. On innovation. On believing in people even when they're unproven. I paused. On being the person I needed when I was starting out. I know. So here's what I'm going to do. I opened my laptop. Pulled up a file. We have an opening for a senior consultant position in the Sterling division. 60% of your old salary. No corner office. You report to a department head who's 29 years old. You work your way up like everyone else. He sat very still. Are you offering me a job? I'm offering you a chance. His eyes got wet. He blinked rapidly. Thank you, he whispered. Don't thank me yet. Prove you've changed. Prove you can work in the company I built, following the values I set. Do that, and maybe there's a future here. I will. He stood up. Extended his hand. I shook it. At the door, he turned back. Emma. Yes. I'm sorry. For everything I said that day. For not believing in you. For being cruel when you deserved support. His voice cracked. I'm truly sorry. I nodded. Apology accepted. He left. I sat alone in my office as the sun disappeared below the horizon. Richard Sterling worked for me now. The man who said I'd never succeed. The man who laughed at my dreams. Some people would call this revenge. Sweet revenge. The ultimate comeback. But sitting there, watching the city lights flicker on one by one, I realized something important. This wasn't revenge. Revenge would have been sending him away. Slamming the door in his face. Making him feel the humiliation I felt. But that's not who I became. I became someone better. Someone who understood that success isn't measured by the people you step on, but by the people you lift up. Someone who knew that true power isn't about crushing your enemies, but about becoming too focused on your mission to care about enemies at all. Richard Sterling spent 8 years learning what I learned in 8 years. He learned that arrogance destroys. That innovation requires humility. That the people you underestimate might just change the world. I learned that success is its own revenge. And forgiveness is its own freedom. My phone buzzed. Text from David. Heard Sterling started today. You okay? Better than okay. Dinner to celebrate. Celebrate what? Everything. 8 years. 1.5 billion. Proving everyone wrong. Being amazing. I smiled. Dinner sounds good. I stood up. Grabbed my coat. Looked around my office one last time before heading out. 8 years ago, I walked out of a building with nothing but a cardboard box and determination. Tonight, I walked out of my building with an empire. But more importantly, I walked out with something Richard never had. Peace. The knowledge that I did it right. That I built something not just successful, but meaningful. That I created a company where people like the old me could thrive. That I became the leader I needed but never had. As I rode the elevator down, 42 floors to the lobby, I thought about that day in Richard's office. You'll never succeed without me. 5 words that changed everything. He was right about one thing. I didn't succeed without him. I succeeded despite him. And that made all the difference. The lobby doors opened. The city stretched out before me. Full of possibilities. Full of challenges. Full of people with dreams and cardboard boxes and determination. I stepped out into the night. Emma. 39 years old. CEO of a $1.5 billion empire. Girl who left with nothing. Woman who built everything. And somewhere in the building behind me, Richard Sterling was learning the same lesson I learned 8 years ago. That success isn't given. It's earned. One late night. One line of code. One impossible dream at a time. The sweetest revenge isn't proving someone wrong. It's becoming so focused on proving yourself right that their words become meaningless. It's building something so beautiful that hate can't touch it. It's rising so high that the people who tried to hold you down become footnotes in your story. Not villains. Just footnotes. I walked down the street, the city lights reflecting off glass towers, and I smiled. Not because Richard Sterling worked for me now, but because I finally understood. I didn't need revenge. I already had everything. And that was the sweetest victory of all.